This is about Homestead, which is has put a temporary moratorium on development for 1 year. It says when it goes effective and when it blocks it. And these are some of the things that we had someone reach out, and this is for a client that's looking at putting a duplex residential development on lots less than 7,500 square feet. And let's look through some of these things. Whereas. Here's what you can't do. Single family detached residential on 7,500 or greater. This is what isn't done it. Commercial development. If yours is seen as commercial, you're good. Mixed use, industrial, hotels, school, development seeking final plats, all these other things. Here's what you can't do. This is single family. Wait, let me make sure I read this right. During the time of the ordinance, approving one, residential developments on lots less than 7,500 square feet. And so this client's lot is 5,000 square feet, and you have to see if it's classified as residential development or not, depending on how you structure it. Residential development over 6 units per acre. This guy has 5,000 square feet. If he puts 2 units on it, it's already going to have a greater density than that. Single family detached of 6 units or fewer to the acre. Single family on lots 7,500 square feet or greater. Commercial, office, industrial, developments with temporary things. Development seeking approval on that. Waivers. Any property seeking a waiver, which is what we're going to do with him. That's one way of many for the different types of loopholes. There's 8 or 10 different loopholes. I talk to these people. No one challenges these. We're not afraid of municipalities. We're not afraid of the city of Homestead. We're not afraid of the mayor or anybody else, the zoning clearance managers. Nobody wants conflict. And the best thing you can do is Florida has a tool for Live Local. You could put both of these, combine them, and put them together. This guy has 2 parcels that are each of 2,500 square feet. He can actually build 2 duplexes. We're going to go through that here in a second. Here's the waiver of the application fees, denial. So yeah, then you can also petition, right? So depending on the different zoning districts now, zoning is extremely complex. The first thing that we do is we would do a zoning meeting. We would go and meet with them. We would talk to these groups. Okay. The other thing is this guy has a floor plan that fits on a 5,000 square foot lot. He owns 2. He overpaid for the land, in my opinion, a little bit because it had favorable zoning, but we're going to go into what he bought. Okay. This is what he bought. 711 Southwest 5th Ave. Now, this guy had some plans with the neighbors and other things. And again, he can do whatever he wants. But if he wants my professional opinion, it's to go vertical. That's going to keep your lot coverages down, to go skinnier. And I'm going to show you that the development standards, we try to develop 2 development standards as well as bypass any kind of loopholes in the structure that allow you to do it by right. That's something that we've always done. No realtor's going to do that. No architect's going to do that. We are building multifamily in my city, Columbus, Ohio, a stacked triplex that is doing very well. And we've sold 8 of them. And it's the same thing. There's no development moratoriums, but we go through rezoning applications, requests, neighborhood groups. These lots are bigger and we're not afraid of what these look like. This is the future use overlay. This is a PUD. What is a PUD? We're just picking a random one here, right? These are blocked, but if we read what a PUD is, there's some different things here. These are zoning maps, but that shows that it's a PUD. The PUD, you can read it in the index standards. Let's see if this is it. It might have been one more. Here it is. Designation, uses permitted, maximum density, amendment, development approval, establish of neighborhoods. Okay. Uses permitted. Individual sub areas will dominate that. Southwest planned unit. General location. Minimum land use. Density and intensity of land use. Minimum and maximum for residential. Okay, so you can have 900 to 3,000 dwelling units an acre, which is insane. So at 900 dwelling units an acre, we're going to be okay. Now, there's a lot of other stuff. We're just reading the general standards. You have to get into these a lot. The maximum density for residential shall not exceed 20 per unit for a single family residential parcel and 15 per acre as average residential for all areas that permit residential uses. However, density may be further restricted when each individual subarea, notwithstanding these other things, may develop using a maximum 31 dwelling units per acre. We're going to look at the actual ones because this has a very good master use plan. Permitted uses, non-conforming uses, the non-conforming structures, the limitations, 1 year of non-commercial use, height, they're set by that. The maximum height is 5 stories and shall not exceed 70 feet. So we go vertical, not horizontal. It's better to utilize your land. 2 families, looking at it, it looks a lot better. The minimum lot size is 5,000. That's what he has. But read this. If existing plats, he has 2 parcels, which are less than the minimum required, may be developed provided documentation illustrates that. So we come in and we look at one first, and I'm going to show you that each of his, he can build a duplex. That's going to break his land down to 50,000 per unit, per structure, and 25,000 per unit, which is incredible. Porches, stoops, we know all these loopholes. They can go into the setbacks, fences, landscaping, roads, sidewalks, signs, parking, driveways, and the rest of it. Okay. Affordable housing. All building of 6 or more within in any 12-month period shall comply with the affordable housing policy. Now, if you want to get a higher density, this is a live local. What I would do is you commit a certain amount to it. So you put these 2 together, you put them in at the same time. You commit 1 unit of each one, which is 50% to affordable housing. And that's going to give you even more allowable density. So our whole thing is to look at all the different and keep his development costs low. Not everyone's always trying to be as all these lot areas and things. We start with a zoning site plan review with the zoning district, and we say, could we put this here? Now, there's other types of uses: residential, ancillary retail, commercial, churches, assisted living, density. If we do building type, townhouses, apartments, civic, minimum lot depth 50, we can ask for a minimum 20 feet for a townhouse. Building placement, right? So we can ask for that because his was platted separately. It's typically grandfathered in. For some reason it was split. And this is what we're going to look at. This is one of those that he owns, 7-Eleven. This is a zoning review. We do zoning reviews for no cost. We're looking at the moratoriums. I'm going to give him a copy of it, a link to the video. I'm going to give him a quick thing, but this is a vacant residential, and the future use overlay is a PUN, which allows for that. If you want the detailed types, here's the residential. Dwelling units, right? If you want commercial, ancillary restricted, you could also do mixed use, churches, you could do you could do this, community residential home, community multifamily dwelling units, permitted use, apartments, hotels. You can do any of these are permitted. If I do a hotel, for example, let's see here. These are apartment hotels. So it's how long can people stay? No longer than 28 days is pretty typical. And these are loopholes that we look for in I'm not sure what's going on here. It's not working. There we go. It's still not working. Let's see. It's still not working. But we're going to go in there and look at all of them. We're going to sit down with the zoning director for an hour or two. Here we go. That was a little bit slow. Hotel is commercial. You can put as many rooms as you want. So you have to look at this. Sometimes, and hotel has a better use. Let's see here. Apartment type 2. Let's look at hotel. This is super slow today. So Airbnb is making more, and that's more of a hospitality use, and it's not really considered. This talks about permitted uses, which is what we clicked here. 25% of the lot area. This is PUD, right? Density and intensity. One of the things is they don't really look at intensities when you look at the number of hotel rooms typically. This is an apartment condo, 35%, 25%, one car. It talks about parking spaces. So there's a lot of, you can put it on a podium depending on your development costs, but we look at highest and best developments. I'm always going to tell you what I think is the best use and what's going to allow you to have a gap in terms of, you can't change the cost of construction, really. It's going to go up and down a little bit depending on the type and the engineered and different things like that. And if it's made of block, right? But they have restrictions on the size of apartments or overall 150 per bedroom residential mixed use, right? So you're going to have to look at these development standards and say, does it make sense on my place? Does that make sense here? If I go to a hotel, an establishment with less than such animal use may be a followable requirement. There's all these technical breakouts, but one of the things that we look at, dwelling units is a room intended to be used for occupancy by one family for living and containing one kitchen. Now, if you look at that for a hotel room, it's a different definition. You have to look at the actual definitions. We've gotten so technical for parking structures on automated parking structures of what's the definition of a floor. It's really important to understand all of your options as, let's see here, four coast mirrors, division of hotels. Let's see here. But not hotel units. So it's not a dwelling unit if it's in a hotel. They don't see them and they don't count them as densities. So sometimes you can do, we did an extended say where it can be apartments. You could convert it to apartments later on. We put a kitchen, but it's extended stay. And extended stay is one of the strongest type of asset classes. Inspection of dwellings. It talks about hotel units and things coming in and all the loopholes. This is the whole point, guys. Typically hotel 3 to 10 sleeping rooms. And your development costs might be larger, but again, we're talking about hotels. We're talking about how to make this guy money. If he overpaid for land, how to get it back, how to make sure that his construction is good. If he doesn't want to listen to me, he doesn't have to. If all he wants is a duplex, we can do that. He wants residential, no problem. But he's asking one of the best land entitlement guys what we can do on this land. That's a long answer. So from looking at this, we look at the permitted uses, we look at this other things, permitted use, some of the things, and this is what we're looking at. Maximum residential units, maximum built area allowed. You see this? I could have 8,900 square feet, and that's a dwelling unit. So residential density, so you can put 2 units on this one lot and cover it 70%. Maximum building footprint for this is 1,700. I just have to get the setbacks, lengths, and widths. That's just one half of it. He owns both. Both are the same, 9,500. This one's a little bit bigger. He could build a duplex here and a duplex here. He could drive underneath it. You know, he's like, what about parking? What about this? Right? What's the widths, right? Let me see. It's probably 25 feet. We build on 30 feet wide. I can make it a little bit skinnier. I can make these studios. I can make it a studio. We've seen everything. We have units as small as 13 square feet, 13 feet wide in Columbus, where I'm from. It was built 100 years ago. Way older properties than this. But you could also build a 9,000 square foot building on here and a 9,000 square foot building on here. You could put them both on a podium, right? You could make them hospitality. Now you have 17,000 square feet and you have parking for typically, you could park about one car, but you could do stackers. There's these mechanical stackers that we've seen. They're mechanical 2-car stacker. You can double your parking. These stackers, right? So you can have these enclosed below and you just have up and downs, right? And they sign things. You could have a triple stacker. These cost 16,000 a door. And the equity that this guy gets per door is way greater than that. If he builds studios, we can get our development costs below 100,000 a door for a studio in any market. And that means, and that's going to sell for well above that. It's probably going to rent for 1,400 a month. So this guy could have all studios and put them on, it could be an Airbnb building. And if you have 17,000 square feet, I could put 40 rooms in there. at least. I got 56 rooms and 27,000 square feet. Let's see what that came out to. 56 rooms. It's one room for every 482 square feet with common hallways, elevators, and other things. He could put stairwells on the outside with walk-ups. He could, since he owns both, he can have a shared driveway agreement where you come in and then it splits off like this into a T parking. You know, you only need about 50 feet pushing it. You need 60 feet, 20, 20, 20 for a good parking lot. So you're going to have to get a little bit creative with the parking. He could do diagonals with a turnaround. There's a lot of things that we can do, but the whole first floor can be parking, and you can make it 3 to 4 tall. I can put 4 across. The parking space is 9 feet, 50 feet. I can put 4 of those quad stackers are 24 feet tall, and I can make, without any maneuvering variances, I can get 20 cars here, 25 spaces, and then a couple parallel. Right? Amazing, amazing design standards. So depending on his development budget and what's possible, and that converts it to commercial. So we have to talk to the guy about what he wants to do. If all he wants to do is build duplexes, we can do that. But a lot of land utilization is about densities. He could do a duplex and do the other one like that and see how they end up. That's what I would do. Okay. But right now, his plans don't work for this. He did it for a neighbor. His units are 1,400 square feet. You need to build as small as possible. The highest rents, if you build 300 square feet or 400 square feet, he's going to get at least 1,400 for a studio down here. I'd say more. He's going to get close to probably $3 to $4 a square foot. I would say that's minimum divided by 400. Ours end up, most of the time, we can get these as small as 215 square feet. So that means it's going to be $6 a square foot. That's higher than what I pay in Brickell. And that's where you make returns. If his, you know, in that hotel room as a hotel use or an Airbnb, it's going to make way more than that because people need places to stay. And I might, you know, sometimes we work a deal. Hey, give me this lot. I'll do this and I'll build this and manage this project for nothing. And give me this lot and I'm going to do it my way. And you build a duplex and I'm going to build a 20 unit. We'll see what happens, right? Whatever it is, we're always open. We're open to joint ventures. But the purpose of this is to talk about Homestead. It's to talk about this guy made the right decision. He has a problem. For some reason, he's asking us to look. He's more about the development and the moratoriums and things like that. But I think that he can do better. And my best work is to give him a preliminary zoning overview, to transcribe this video, give it to him, tell him what I think, the development standards that we're talking about, PUDs, and the next step, which is he didn't send me his plans. I didn't review any secret financial information, but it's just to talk about if we did these 3 things, what would happen? And with him having 2 parcels, I would split it and go this direction this way and this direction for the other. Absolutely can do it. 2 and 2. He can build 4. He's in an amazing position. And we're going to try to cut a deal. Who knows what's going to happen? But if you're in South Florida, if you're in Miami, Homestead, if you're looking at developments, if you're looking at how do you do these stuff, I argue with municipalities for a living. And Florida is the best place to do it. I moved here 1 year ago to make a difference in my life, to challenge it. And with live local set-asides, affordable housing set-asides, right? I don't know how they would see, let's see, live local hotel set-aside. This is the Live Local Act. So there might, I don't know if it only applies to apartments or what, but it doesn't matter. Like at the end of the day, it allows the highest densities, the highest heights. He has a lot of height, and you can see how big his buildings can actually be when you go tall. This is to show you this. Guys, this is the best city and county to develop in the country. Okay, 70 feet, 5 stories, 9,000. It talks about the setbacks, rear yards, everything. And that's just for this. He's in an amazing scenario. I can make his land. My job is to make his land worth more money. We underwrite land at 10% of development values. And every hotel room down here, I would say at a minimum is worth $175,000. It's worth a lot less than that in my market. But if he gets $175,000, he gets one. And if he did just that 9,000 one, he got one at the same 450. His 20, that development post-construction is going to be worth 175. It's going to be worth $3.5 million. And so his land's going to be worth $350K. We would underwrite it. Do we need someone that's going to agree to us? We don't need anything. We can try appraisals, institutional level appraisals. Land is what people will pay for it. And if you have the entitlements, approved, that's it. So sometimes you have to go through and see if it's cost prohibitive to do that. You have to look at the engineering and all the other things, the stormwaters and utilities, and what can I do in parking, all the development standards of the development district. And you have to try to fight for it. Homestead doesn't want housing. They want mixed use. They want commercial. They want restaurants. He could put a little barbershop here. He could do that. We haven't even talked about parking exemptions or minimum parking standards. There's so many different things that we have to look at when it comes to it, but I'm just showing him what the city says by right. By right, he could build 4,500 square foot units if he wanted to. I wouldn't. He can make it nursing home. He can make it senior housing. Okay, and that's our job. That's our job. If there's assisted living here, if there's by the room rental care, and that's what he wants to do, he could do one unit and then put 4,500 above it. That's 3 stories tall. He could put elevators or no elevators. There's zoning and then there's building, and you have to look at both of them. And our job as land planners, as a zoning expert, is to look at what's possible in a zoning review, which is what this is. Thanks for watching.